I've traveled around the country, I've seen the dusty plains, but I'd rather be back home again, avoiding all the rains. Sat around the table with the culture running deep, with a harvest in the jaws and promises to keep. Give me a home out in the bush, please, with lots of more trees, a bung or two, me mate Wild Roo, and the rest of the crew, with Timmy, Tink and Mark too. We've got a strong culture and some good stuff to share, with the microbial plan and the science in the air. Got the masters of the craft and the crew's all there, in me old smoking chair. Give me a home out in the bush, please, with lots of more trees, a bung or two, me mate Wild Roo, and the rest of the crew, with Timmy, Tink and Mark too.
G'day legends and welcome back to the Terpene Table. I'm your host, Wild Roo. As always, I'm joined by the crew here at the table. G'day. Say g'day, legends.
G'day, everyone.
Good evening, all.
And we've got Tink. How are you, Tink?
Good evening, bless yous. Good to be here.
Beautiful. And today we're going to speak about that seedling stage, seedling all the way through to week 2. That part where that nervous window where we're all sort of checking on it every 5 minutes, that tiny little green speck, sweating on it whether it's too wet. Is it dead already? Is it too dry? What do we do? So, yeah, today we're going to start talking about that and break that down. And I think we're going to kick it off with Timmy explaining a bit about radicle emergence and auxin hormones and things like that. So, Timmy, how about you start us off with what's happening there in the seed?
So look, I first want to kind of preface this whole part as like one of my most favorite and exciting parts of any plant's like growth cycle, because the first 2 to 3 weeks, that's 80% of your future. That's the foundation. It's the first bucket of concrete in your skyscraper that you are building, and they are incredibly important stages for the plant. And yeah, let's start from seed and let's go all the way down through the stages.
Sounds great, mate.
So look, the seed, once it gets its little juices and the embryo has become alive inside the seed and it starts to push itself out, it's essentially it's waking up. Its first root, called the radicle, it pushes out and it's its first little taste of life. And the plant starts exchanging nutrients in the soil and absorbing the nutrients that come alongside it in its shell too. And look, it's not just nutrients inside of the seed cell. It's all sorts of things like enzymes and amylase and the stuff that is the building blocks for the plant's energy production.
Definitely.
Yeah, I kind of went a little bit into it then, because I mean, we all know I love a germination. But essentially, once you have like a piece of equipment, from like Wild Vault or from Blazing Trail or from wherever you purchase it at any reputable retailer, it takes this part out of your hands. You have the perfect environment, the right amount of humidity, moisture, the amount of oxygen, light, and the seed will just take care of itself if it's from like, good genetics, like someone here in our community. Look, this is the easy part, but choosing the right genetics and then getting it into a germinator or any other way that you choose to germinate, but this is the part where the plant has it completely covered.
This is true. I'm just going to dive in from a breeder's point of view here. So, someone who pops a lot of seeds at a time is a breeder. If those seeds are struggling and I have to have a lab grade environment to pop them, then that's probably not something I'm going to continue in its genetic, breeding with anyway. Just to throw it out there, because I'm looking for vigor. So those things that pop off and take off straight away, you might pop 20 of them, and you might have a couple of stragglers. Well, they're not going to be sort of first pick.
The glorious pheno hunt.
That's it.
And as
But,
just a grower, I head for genetics that I know are going to pop for me, are going to take off for me. That attracts me to a certain type of genetics because I know that they've been bred to be a bit tougher,
especially as a grower, someone who can't afford to just bury heaps of, hundreds
Absolutely.
of
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like every bean to pop, I know that that's not the statistics, but, on budgets and stuff like that, it's really good. It's
So,
part of the what you
hopefully
look
the
for.
breeders out there are putting in the work and making sure they're
They're
working with
tough.
good genetics, and then you go to
Yeah.
someone like Timmy at Blazing Trail or the Wild Vault and grab yourself a nice germination starter kit, and you're off to a good start.
Yep.
Look, and the community passion that is out there for just creating those quality, stable, reliable genetics here within Australia, like it's there. Just from the few great minds that are in this community is a great example of the great minds in our entire community. And finding that reputable guy, whether it's through a mate or someone who's even just starting out, like give them that support because that's your foundation as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Quick
Yeah,
shout out to the
well
chat. How are you, legends? Down here in the Discord chat. We'll like to see any comments and questions down in here today too. We're more than happy to jump into them. So we got day one. Day one, all the way through to
First lead.
Yeah, those first leaves starting to pop out. Helicopter parent stage.
Look, this is where photosynthesis kicks in. This is where the plants it becomes its powerhouse. It's waking up to what it's meant to be. It's living its divine girl era. I say hopefully girl because we're all usually going for girls unless you're breeding. But
Correct.
look, and this is where, as a lot of us know, is leaves using light and CO2 to turn sugar into growth power. It's starting up the process within itself, and this is another critical stage because this is the root development. How are we going to build our foundation, and how are we going to build the structure that supports everything? Look, and I guess what's a good observation with you guys with what you see in this stage, like of something that's good, a good hardy genetic, like how would you define this process just from how you guys have gone through things?
I get a taproot nice and quick within a 24 to 36 hour. I like to see a taproot, and I haven't had to like crack or anything the seed at all. And then to see it come out really strong, like nearly to the point where I'm concerned I'm not giving it enough light. That to me says I'm in for like it's an aggressive start. It's like, oh, hello, I'm here. I love seeing that. That like really gets me excited for the whole growth of that particular plant.
I'm absolutely with you there.
Yeah, I'm about the same.
Also-
I'm looking for those roots to start making their way down through the cocoa, being a cocoa grower. So go Mud. Sorry, mate. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, no, you're all right, mate. So with the way I do things, the fundamental thing I'm looking for in the very early stages is that my soil doesn't absolutely eat and consume the seed. So that is my primary concern and somewhat the only thing I'm concerned about. And as long as they basically, with the way I do things, it will guarantee that whatever comes out, it has some level of vigor. I don't get much weak things come through. I just get low germination rates.
Yeah, right.
Let the strongest survive.
Yeah, they don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that hot
that's
soil.
fair.
No.
Yep, super hot. Don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And that's why,
These
just from some of our other chats, you've got some vigorous plants that have come through, some survivors.
Yeah, I've also had some ones that are face planted. I'm going to be honest. I've also done some very poorly. But yeah, the ones that do come through, they're pretty good, pretty sturdy. I don't need to trellis them or stake them and nothing like that. They do it all themselves. But yeah. And one of the important things is in those earlier stages, Yeah, a lot of people, they'll get a plant going and everything like that, and then they'll start inoculating with sort of some of their microbial inoculants and things like that, their mycorrhizas as well, and all of that. It's a little late by that point. When you have that first taproot popping out, when you have these first things popping out, or your first transplant from your solo cup, things like that. But even ideally, when the first taproot comes out, you want to get that you want to get the mycorrhizae, the endomycorrhizae into it, because they actually go inside of it, and once they're in there, you need them to take up all of the space and get active fast, because their network needs to be in there pretty ASAP. So in that first week, I'm already looking to have an established mycorrhizae network.
And that you would have already prepared in your soil, wouldn't you, Mud?
Depends how I'm germinating at the time. I
Yep.
actually find if I'm trying to germinate separate in seeds, I have tried with like a mycorrhizae solution mixed in with some kelp and whatnot, and I actually get less success, which is interesting.
Okay.
But that could be me. But
Right.
in the soil, definitely. When I transplant for the first time, it'll always be on there, but as early as possible. I like to put it in the water that I water them into the soil in when they first pop out, or if I'm transplanting them from a seed into the soil, that sort of thing.
Right. Okay. All right. That makes sense. Yep.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you along getting that mycorrhizae interaction going just immediately, on cuttings, on clones, on transplanting, on seedlings, like anything that has a root on it. Get that mycorrhizae into there and start colonizing everything, because the benefits that has, and I think that's a great tip for any kind of beginner grower as well. Is you can use less by looking and observing more with your mycorrhizae. If you have a good colonized branch out, which just takes a little bit of research at your local hydroponics shop, or here in the community, or on the internet in general, and you can find like how to buy and then inoculate your soil and growing mediums with these good colonies, and use it for your benefit.
I'd also like to point out super quick that there is very specific species I can't remember off the top of my head, because some of them have multiple names. But you can look that up. There are certain species that are specific to our plant, and then there are others that are completely useless and you're wasting your money on. And I believe it's only 2 or 3 species that are very specific to our plant. Now, in saying that, I honestly don't see any issue in having various species. Some of them will probably die out, outcompete. The only issue in that is the solutions you'll get. Some of these inoculants that have both sort of the endo, the ectos and whatnot, is the ectos will outcompete the endos very, very quickly because of the spore count. The people put a lot more of the ectos in these sort of products that aren't designed towards cannabis and whatnot.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
something to
Now,
touch on.
guys, are we talking a liquid solution or a dry
Everything.
amendment, or
Various forms, Tink. It comes in, you
okay?
can get a powder and you can inoculate it in your water. You can get it in like a granule. You can get it in a complete total powder that you powder on there. There's
Right.
people like
Cool.
there's all sorts of brands. I use I use various, but my favorite one is Great White, just because it's got so many different things in there, and I don't use it. I know my soil's inoculated, so I just use it a little bit every now and again just to give it a bit of a
Yep.
boost. Because as you said, Tink, everything's already in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
We might
it's
even get some
wasteful
links put up.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that, Tink?
We might even just get some links put up at the end of this for
Definitely,
that,
yeah.
'cause this is something new to me. Because I work so hard on my soil, I probably have it in mine outdoors as well,
You would
I would
naturally.
believe. Yeah, but, the indoor, sometimes I've got bugs again, so it's making me wanna go more sterile, less soil. And, if I can create that condition through some kind of medium that I can use, then yeah, that would help with sterility as well. Creating that environment inside, not bringing it from outdoors. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you'd have to go one of two ways. You go completely sterile or completely into the organic side of things, which is where you'd establish sort of these built-in pest controls, these IPMs, like your mites
That's
and your
what you need
beneficial
to do.
insects and whatnot. Or if
Bringing in the beneficial insects.
but that's a
Yeah.
lot, again, to establish that is a lot more work than to establish something a bit more sterile, in my opinion. But once established, it's so easy. As I said, I've put plants in there with aphids on them from outside, and they have come out without aphids, just due to
Yeah.
things being in there.
Yeah.
I'm very
Yeah.
lucky. Well, I'm not lucky. I put a lot of effort in.
No,
But
you've
yeah.
put a lot of work into it being that. Oh, that's brilliant. Sorry, I did digress us. I
Well,
just
I'm
find it
about
so
to digress again, because we just had in the chat there, Al Travos asked about transplanting autos. So, because while we're on this mycorrhizae
Yeah.
Chat. I feel like that
I
one
think,
fits in here pretty.
transplanting autos is, yeah, absolutely you can. Some I think you need to be a little bit tender with, as in don't muck with the root system too much, so if you can keep that as stable as possible, but yeah, absolutely transplant them at will. They love being played with.
I think, as
Your
with all
big
things
hot
with autos,
size.
it's,
Yeah.
as with all things with autos, I think it's a timing thing. That's pretty
Yep.
much it's it. You just got to be a bit more gentle. In saying
Yep.
that, I don't think I've ever transplanted an auto and done well, and I fully acknowledge that's me. I've not got a good track record with autos, but
I
yeah,
have.
it's timing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
Yeah.
I
think it's
grow in
time.
solo cup all my autos and transfer them into 3 or
Just don't let
5
them get root
gallon.
bound.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, as soon as that root's starting to show at the bottom of the cup, that's when they go.
Yeah.
And sit my cup into my transplant, my receiving soil, I'll call it, and press that in nice and firm. So that gives me the exact size and shape. Then
I
I
also
can
think
press it
autos are
out
getting better.
solo
Yeah.
cup and just it fits in there nicely. Cover it over and water it in with minimal root disturbance. You're not trying to,
Yeah.
don't have
Exactly.
to sort of, you don't want to be rough with them like you
No.
can be with photos.
A root bound one or something like
Well, yeah,
that's
a
completely
root bound
different.
photo you can pull
Yeah.
out and you can rough up the
Tease it out a little
roots
bit.
and
Yeah.
fix them out. You don't want to do that with autos.
That's
Exactly.
a very good point you make, Roo. So yeah, I guess that just be when you have them in the solo cups and you time it right, as I said timing and you said how easily they come out. You could just take it off, and if you're quick enough, it wouldn't even know. So a lot of
No,
people, I guess, that are
exactly.
saying that you can't do it, just are probably not treating them like you would an auto, because at the end of the day, we need to
Yeah.
understand they are different things.
I think
Sit
we're
in a
living
nail.
under an old illusion that you cannot ever touch an auto because they get so shocked that they will put them out of growing for like 2 weeks. And, maybe at some point in auto's life that was real, but it's not. I don't believe it's right
With
anymore.
initial
It's a
low
different.
riders and things, probably,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's coming
Yeah.
back a bit, but I think
Yeah.
I agree with you there, Tink, and I'll add a
Yeah.
little bit to that. I think they just got a lot better, they're a lot quicker. I think that's
I think so
simply a
too. I
lot to
think
do
so,
with it.
mate.
Was the
Yeah.
quality improved substantially at an accelerated pace? But
Yeah.
that's going to happen with a plant that you can
Yeah.
breed twice in a cycle than you can with another one.
And I don't think you need to be like harsh with them or tough with them or anything like that. I mean, putting them out in the elements, absolutely. But like Rue says, you make the hole, you don't push them in and try to get them to
Patch.
do it. And they just transplant beautifully. The same with all your low stress and even some high stress and all of that. They seem to respond well to it, whereas we were always under the illusion, don't do anything, because it'll go into shock. So I think we've debunked that big time. Yeah.
Yep, for sure. Definitely.
Mm.
All right. So week 1, back to this
So,
seedling. This one we're kicking away here in
yeah,
our tent.
yeah,
um,
and it's just had some enzymes, hasn't it? Some
yeah,
nice bacteria.
it's just had
Okay.
some mycorrhiza put on there, and
Yep.
we'd probably be dialing in our environment right about now, Timmy. So we'd be looking at, temperature. Those auxins are signaling, translating into root branching.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this is, I guess, where the foot meets the gas of the plant's kind of future and your interaction and involvement with it. You've built up colonies of good mycorrhizae on your root structures and in your soil, your atmosphere to keep that nice and tempered. One of my favorites, just looping back to that quickly, is Bacillus subutilis. It is one of the powerhouses of nitrogen production, and it is in a product called Tribus, and it's also in Great White as well. But Tribus is specifically dialed in for nitrate and phosphorus production in soils, and it does really really well.
That's
Anyway,
that's
Yeah, that sounds
Sorry, mate,
good
I missed
info.
that, mate.
sorry, what'd you say, mate?
I said I missed that. Whatever you were saying, it was really choppy through here.
So that's interesting what Blazing said. I didn't know that is this an Australian product? Is this something we can get locally?
No, it's an American product, but it is also available locally. I think Stealth Garden distribute it to all pretty much major hydro shops. Should be able to get access to it. And it has been specifically developed by the American medicinal and recreational cannabis industries for tempering soil for cannabis plants. And it is an absolute knockout of the park. It's something that as soon as I started using it, I was like, I got to buy liters of this stuff just to drink it
Wow.
myself. It was
And you
it's such a good
mentioned,
product.
sorry, I don't mean to keep. This is interesting. So it
Yeah.
also sounds like we could kind of crop steer a little bit in flour using this. If you're sort of to use your generic ones and then sort of use this improved one, if there's room in your soil, you could sort of get a bit of a response out of it. Sort of not a stress response, maybe the opposite. That's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely not a parasitic or a kind of struggles for dominion over all of the other kind of mycorrhizae like strains in the soil. It works alongside things pretty well, and it just helps, I guess, the roots transfer the nitrogen predominantly with a little bit of phosphorus kind of support in the background. It just helps break that down at a root level and supports the cation exchange in the soil.
Interesting. Thank you.
You used nitrogen there, so that's clearly where we're aiming with our first week and two.
We are, but we're going light, which is why
Yeah.
like I wanted to talk about the mycorrhizae, is because this allows us to use less nitrogen, which is one of the first mistakes I ever made. Was I was like, time to put everything in at full strength, and that did not go well.
No, because those microbes are just sitting in there converting away to nitrogen anyway. So
Yeah, absolutely. So as we come, into our first week one, we've got that taproot. It's driving down. It's creating root structures and a base structure for the whole plant, and how it's going to divide and multiply and occupy this space over the next kind of 12, 13 weeks. Now, look, what the plant is doing is it's finding more sources for starch and for sugars, and it wants to break that down using its new photosynthesis mechanisms to produce adenosine. Now, I guess the plant structures we're supporting are very similar to human physiology as well, in terms of how our own bodies produce and interact with base proteins and aminos. And if we think about how do we keep a high efficient runner going, we're talking about circulation, we're talking about flow, we're talking about the internal mechanisms of the plant or the person needing to kind of meet that. And this is where we can make the most of the plant's early life for that.
yeah, well said.
I mean, I have my own ways that I do things, and one that's been developed over time. But I'm definitely keen to hear even some of the guys in the audience and all of your kind of, what do you observe in this 2 weeks? What do you do and then noticeably see changes?
That's an interesting one. Who wants to take that one? Mud.
Yeah.
Can you? Sorry, I'm having a bit of issues with my side of things today. Can you?
That's all right. You're a
That
bit.
was
You
good?
are a
Yeah.
bit choppy.
All right. We good now? Sorry about that, guys.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we can hear.
All right. Sorry. Could you repeat that? I've got a bit of choppiness over here as well.
So essentially, we're just chasing, I guess, community and us here on the table, just our observations and what we do kind of in that first week. How do we support the plant in this early stage?
Second or first week, mate? Sorry.
First week.
First week. Well, I mean, you gotta keep them happy. When you get a newborn home, what do? You just got to make sure they settle in. You got to, environment is definitely a big deal. Temperature, because you've got to understand there's more going on, in environments than just them feeling the hot and the cold. When it's too hot and it's muggy and there's a lot of things like there's this newborn is sweating. Well, obviously there's bacteria all over their body. They're not smelling for no reason, and then you've got more issues to worry about now, right? You've got to start introducing things and things like that, or you can just keep the environment nice, right?
That's right, because this is when transportation is starting to take place. Transportation.
Yeah. It's when life's starting to
Trying to English.
yeah, yes, when life's starting to happen. It's when Yeah, I mean, it's when something goes from
All those
one
things are
phase of
happening.
its yeah,
Mm.
it starts the signals are happening, and
Yeah. Yep.
there's auxins, there's everything, and as I said, it's not just the plant reacting to this. When the things around the plant reacts to this, um, it makes the plant react to it. I know that sounds stupid, but that's sort of what I'm trying to get out there.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
actually looking at one right in front of me that's a week old. So it's been really good to be able to like answer in real time. And what I always get such a kick out of is a plant, and I know so many plants do it, but this is just the way my brain works. But I love the way they just grow up into the sky. You know, that single fucking stem, but it's so strong. You know, I like Mud refers to it as a
Away its little
baby.
head up. Yep.
Oh, it just does, you know, it doesn't need any supports or anything like that. It just needs that, I don't know, I wanna say belief in its power to be able to grow like that. So, but
Well,
it's
it's
not
more
that.
than that as well.
Yeah,
There's all sorts of the seed has its own life in it, ready to go. A mother's not
that's
going to
just
just drop a baby on
amazing.
its head. The seed has all
Yeah,
sorts of nutrients and everything in it, ready to just
And you
get it
want to
through
watch
that
for all
first
those
week or two.
too in that first week. So you're looking for, your leaf colors and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I mean
okay.
they show when you make them. This is a good. You will see pretty well when a plant's not doing well at this stage.
I've
Well,
got
Don't
like the one
overwater.
I'm looking at, it's
right.
just popped its 2 little, green leaves, but it had a helmet head. So one of its leaves got a bit of yellow on it. Well, but I can because I watched I had to flick that off actually because it got stuck. So now it's got a little bit of a discolor to it, but I know that by the time it gets its second leaves, it will be absolutely fine,
Well,
and
that's
will
because it's
have
had no light, so it's had no chlorophyll production.
exactly, yeah. So there's always a simple explanation for it, isn't it? When it's looking
That
so
one's a bit
healthy, but
different
there
to
is
the
something. Yeah,
yeah, because
yeah,
something like it being a bit hot or overwatered, which is going to bring you with those droopy leaves.
yeah,
You're going to get that yellowing of that little seedling.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think they're fabulous. Like,
And
it's
now
just
we
like
now
a
we got
miracle.
little nodes starting to form.
Yep, yeah,
Cell divisions taking place.
yeah. The prayer hands are up.
Yep. That's the leaves are rocking through, so we're starting to
Yeah,
head into two. What are we looking for now, guys? Apart from
um
like like you're looking at those nodes starting to form, and what else are we paying attention to?
oh, it's stretch. So now I'm looking at where it's sitting in the soil because now I want to either help it by raising the soil up, if it's got too lanky or so now it's about its light and where that's sitting and how well it's sitting, how high it is, how low it is, that kind of thing is
That's a
probably where
great
I'm looking at next.
observation, Tink, and I'm going to
Yeah,
quickly dive in on that one. Something I like to do is when I start in solo cups, I like to only half fill my solo. So when that seedling starts to come up a little bit, I can just put a little bit more cocoa or a little bit more soil, whatever you're running, in there and just support it on its way up
yeah,
as it gains its strength without having to do anything else. Just leaving plenty of room in that cup.
yeah, yeah. And that makes for a
Yeah.
short transplant as well, which is a good thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just a little
And
tip there.
this is the stage where the plant is using a lot more nitrogen than anything else. It's supercharged and it's ready to pump out the fuel and get those all the cylinders firing. And another thing we can do, to I guess mitigate some of the stretch issues or support the enzyme and hormone production in the plant to help get better foundations is exactly what you guys are talking about, like getting it closer to the light. If you're outdoors, building up the mound. If you're indoors, putting it on a seat or building up the soil level in your cup as well.
Mm.
That early stem will usually sprout off tap roots, small tap roots, or fibrous roots off the side of it, and
Yep. Fibrous roots off of
it'll
that
just
taproot.
yeah, it'll just keep growing and growing in that space. But if we use a light, some LEDs in this current generation, you can switch between veg and flower or a heavier blue spectrum, and the red spectrum is creating the stretch, especially those far reds in that early veg stage. So If we
Yep.
go with a bluer light, usually we'll have a lot less stretch issues, and we can lower that light down to adjust the PPFD. And
Yeah.
usually you would go that off like most lights will come with a PPFD foot chart, and you can kind of judge from there if it's, you're looking for 600 PPFD at,
Yeah.
18 inches
The
or 12
manufacturer
inches,
will give
whatever
you
the
a chart. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah, and at this stage, this is when you can really. This is one of my. This early stage is one of the better because, as there's been touched on before, you can actually. Sorry, I'm having a bit of lag on this end. You. This is when I like to really sort of use think like inoculant sort of things. Sorry, enzyme inoculant sort of things. So you can use a little bit of kelp, you can use a little bit of seaweed, but you have to watch the nitrogen that we're touched on. But the good thing about nitrogen, and we said a little bit of this before, you use a little bit of lighter soil, but as you get into this stage and you really want to start getting some enzymic reaction, you can really start to see true leaves come through, true set come through, everything like that. Nitrogen's the thing that burns the most to my understanding. So you can really push it to the point where you can see the result. And in the way I grow, and more so with synthetic, I suppose, it's one of those things where you can sort of get the instant reaction. So when you're getting that instant initial growth, when it really wants to get its life going, you can see instantly or damn near instantly when you've overdone it, when a lot of these other things are a little bit harder. So in this early stage, when you want to use that nitrogen, you also want to start using some of these things that get sort of these reactions, these enzymes, all of these hormones that we also don't know about in these kelps and all of that stuff. We can also see when we're overdoing it at this stage as well. So this is a really good time to lock in some really good speedy growth early. Sorry if that was a little bit convoluted.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a very, very key stage, and this, really dictates sort of your later growth. So,
and especially in a way that you can, what I sort of am getting at, in a way you can visually gauge it, because when you get later on, some of the deficiencies you see, it's already sort of too late, especially in soil. Whereas nitrogen,
Yeah,
I'm overdoing
definitely
it,
as
it's
well.
burning. I'm underdoing it, it's green.
Yeah.
And you get so many other benefits with some of the things that come with the vegetative nutrients and whatnot. But it's just a good time to be able to dictate sort of how well you're doing, because a bit later on, it's not as visual per se.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, very well put, mate.
Mm.
Which is, is exactly what we're chasing in these first couple of weeks, is that leafy growth. So
Yeah, and the green leafy growth without the burning or without the sort of dulling. You know what I mean? That's sort of what I mean.
Yep.
Yeah, that nice dark. Yeah.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't feed anything at all until, except for sort of a mycorrhiza on the roots early, as an inoculated sort of where I'm going. But day 10 is when I'd be looking at introducing that kelp and stuff like that. Day 10, 12.
Well, as I
somewhere
said, I
around there.
water them in with kelp. When you have the pots I do, you
Yeah,
can,
but that's your running a
you
living
know,
soil, exactly.
yeah.
So
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I don't use any nutrients really until I've got like my second set of leaves. And then I'm looking at the leaves. I don't do it on my first nodes or anything. I'll kill them, fry them. But I've got them in decent soil, so mine's not just a cocoa.
yeah, that's right. You're running a mix as well.
Yeah, a little bit of a mix, it depends how poor I am to how strong the living soil type part of it is. Yeah.
Yep. So
Yeah.
I'll run a synganic, so I don't start feeding properly until about, sort of what I would call early veg, which would be
Yep.
like, day 14, day 21 for me from seed.
Yeah. And you'd
Well,
have you could have 3 or 4 nodes by then, couldn't you?
Exactly. If I've got my
saying
growth
that,
right early.
Yeah.
you guys are sort of only feeding a plant. I have to keep everything in the soil alive too. Even with
Yeah.
smaller plants, I somewhat feed. Once I've I
They're
kind of have,
completely
even
different.
when there's no plants in there, actually, when they're sort of resting
You've
with
still
cover
got to
crop
keep them
outside.
alive.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, there's more than that in there. You know what I mean?
Well, it's
Yeah.
called living soil for a reason.
I kind of actually ease off on everything at the very end. That's when I stop putting things in as sort of last,
Right.
5 or
Yep.
6 waters. When early on, I go hard on all sorts of stuff to sort of make it get really hot and going. But
Yeah.
with, that's why I need strong plants to not get eaten early, because they're the ones that can take it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
look, in the chat, we had a good suggestion, which was like a compost tea, an application of myco, just to get the base started up, get the heat in the oven.
Yep.
And I kind of definitely started out along these lines in the later kind of part of my my time growing. And look, I used to do neem meal as a tea with a lot very light aloe vera kind of spray, and I found this was a great kind of way to introduce the mycorrhizae in the soil to breaking down the organic components, but also just lightly support the rough nutrient profile of or that the plant wanted to start
Where
out.
we
So
were
I think,
chasing in that sort of
yeah,
3-1-1 area, roughly.
yeah, exactly. Like the neem is a bit hotter. I think it's
It's probably
413
4,
or
yeah.
something, 414. So look, that's why I would always do that at a lower dosage rate, and spread it out over multiple plants, and by the time they've soaked that water up, it's getting added as a top dress kind of the next day, and
Mhm.
just incorporating as much of that organic kind of component into that as the building blocks for when I chuck in the synthetics and help them break it down in a more kind of conservative way.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. We just had another suggestion in the chat about like companion plants. So he's suggesting he uses aloe growing in his tents with his plants for rooting hormones and the rooting gel. That's a great suggestion. We've discussed this on previous pods as well about companion plants. So
Yeah.
clover cover
I'm
and things like
huge.
that. Mm.
Yeah, huge with companion plants. I've got a huge plant of comfrey growing just because it's so I mean, I use it for products, but the conditioning to the soil is brilliant
Mm.
and good for feeding. I can make teas out of it. Mm.
One good way for aphids, speaking of companion planting, is
Yep.
chuck a little lettuce. Like sprout a lettuce seed and put it in the front of your tent if you're having problems, and they will all go for that. They will all be like, "Yo,
A
meat's back on the
lettuce.
menu."
I didn't know lettuce.
Nice
They
juicy
have
watery
such
vegetable.
delight in
Yum.
broccolis and
Yeah,
cabbages and all that. I hadn't thought of a quick growing lettuce. Oh, I might do that. I'm having an
What's the
aphid
cell
problem.
structure of a lettuce? It's just easy to break down for them to bite through and suck the chlorophyll out.
Right. Okay. That makes perfect sense. Good tip, guys.
That's why you see all the little white spots on your leaves where they're eating all the
Yeah.
chlorophyll. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're right. Lettuce is a lot easier and lettuce is a lot quicker to grow than
Good tip,
cabbage
Timmy.
and
Love it.
broccoli. Yeah. Good tip, man. I mean, I like that. Thank you. Yeah.
chuck some rosemary and thyme in there too, and you got some seasonings for the munchies that make after you finished your harvest.
Oh, I've got bushes of
Like,
them. Yeah.
oh, they're the most joyous things to grow.
Oh,
I'll
they
never
are.
get tired of their smells either.
Yeah.
Like,
I grow
there's
mint
definitely.
grass, mate. Mint grass and lemon balm grass. Yeah. As in grass, as in I've got to mow it. That's the only way I'm going to get rid of it.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
That's
That
wonderful.
must
Yeah.
smell absolutely wonderful when you mow it.
Oh, well, I don't. I just stomp it. So there's paths that are just squished down, from catmint to lemon balm to mint to spearmint. It's just been a delight. Yeah, so it definitely helps with the ecosystem.
Yeah, there's bricks and paths there somewhere.
Somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somewhere. They were, were a while
At
ago.
some point
And there
in
was
time. Yeah,
grass, but
exactly.
I pulled that out. Yeah.
So El Travo, I think you might be talking about the story of strawberry cough or something, that it was like planted out the back of a soccer field or a footy field, and they tried to say that it was next to a strawberry plantation or something.
All right,
I
so I'll
could
read
be
that out.
incorrect,
It was
but
a comment in the chat, and it says,
yeah, sorry, yeah.
topic of companion plants. I heard a story from an OG grower who's in their 70s. They said if you grow a strawberry plant with a bud plant, the bud plant takes on the flavor. I'm pretty sure it depends on genetics as well, but have any of you heard about anything like this? So that was just to give some context.
Yeah, that was sorry. Yeah, I should have given some context. That was what I was touching on, and
I'm not sure that it would get it
I
from
don't
just
think it
growing
would.
with it. I think if you tried to graft, then maybe you might get some kind of. But my thoughts are, I'm thinking no, maybe.
You would
There could
struggle to
be
get a
some.
tannin kind of uptake from something in the soil with just how the
Okay.
roots are processing like base minerals rather than kind of tannin elements. Look,
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
it definitely have similar type of microbes like what not a bird has said here in the chat is if there's strawberries growing near it, then there's definitely going to be strawberry associated microbes in that
That's
soil as
true.
well.
Very
But
true.
the transference of tannins and flavonoids is definitely not going to happen from the root thing. And it's something that, funnily enough, I actually heard a very similar story from the 70s and 80s of the upper north kind of coast of New South Wales was bearing mangoes
Yeah.
with your plants, and it would make it all work wonders. And no, it provides a super soil. Like there's plenty
Yeah.
of sugars and enzymes available in the
Yeah.
soil then for the plant to go bananas. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, it's not going to take on the
I had to
flavor
go
profile.
mangoes, not
I
bananas.
think
Yeah.
we could also look at the fact that if it's a very well maintained plot for vegetables or fruits or whatnot, and a cannabis plant is grown in there, it might express itself a lot more terpier, especially back then when we sort of didn't know these things. So if you've got, say, a strawberry plantation and very nice rich soil, and then you go and put a cannabis plant in there back in the 70s or whatnot, it has a beautiful terp expression, and you might go, oh, that's just like the strawberries, a bit of positive thinking.
Mm.
That might have something to do with it too. So that's
Mm.
yeah.
Definitely, I'd
Yeah,
say,
absolutely.
yeah, research and development's come a long way since then, yeah,
Mm.
and experience.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting though because, like, yeah, I've heard those about, and same about pineapple, mango, and I think it just falls back onto bricks count and things like that. I'd say, Timmy, like you said, getting those sugars
Yeah.
up.
Mm.
Well, it's medically legal. I don't know. This is maybe something they should consider researching for us, huh?
Well, this is true. All
So we're
right,
going
well,
into week two.
yeah,
If I'm up to where we are now in week two. It's an exciting stage. We haven't killed anything yet, and we're moving through. The leaves are coming.
yep.
Feeling confident? Yeah, absolutely.
We're keeping an eye on those humidities, the temperatures. We're keeping an eye
Yeah.
on PPFD.
What is a good temperature you guys would recommend to people? Like temperature and humidity, because in our budget $500 grows, I think we had some hygrometers, so we should be able to kind of keep monitor of that. Where should we be
Definitely.
sitting?
I'm sitting somewhere about 24 degrees and about
I was
60%
gonna
in
say
my relative
24.
humidity.
Yeah, 65,
Yeah.
70 on the
No,
humidity.
yeah, I like to dial my humidity up just a little bit later, but yeah, somewhere
Yeah.
around there as long as I'm keeping everything good. I don't want any spikes or drops.
In these early stages, I aim for probably about. I like a lot of humidity and a lot of heat early, so I'm probably looking at about 70, 68, 70% humidity
Mm.
and probably about 27, 28 degrees.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
Look,
But we're
I
also
agree
in
on the
Queensland, so
That's true. You guys are up north, yeah.
yeah, things are different. That's how the nature and
Yeah.
just how our atmosphere and things interacts.
Probably easier for you to maintain that too up there.
Maintain,
yeah.
you mean keep it low enough?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah, I
saying.
was gonna say you might not
Low
have any
enough.
options. You've really
I
got
know
to work
exactly
with
right.
it at higher temperatures, don't you?
Well, it's a 26 right now, 26 degrees with an aircon on 16. So,
Wow.
yeah, at
Wow.
night.
I've got the heater on.
Yeah, my lights are the heaters.
Yeah. Well, not in my lounge room, not in
Yeah,
my
yeah, no. Oh, yeah, no, it's warmer
yeah.
here. No,
But I've got the heater on, yeah. I know. I mean crazy.
But no, I like it jungly, just like Timmy does. I like it really hot,
Tropics.
really sort of.
Yeah.
I like to walk in there and smell my insect frass. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
get that.
the
I
smell,
like
smell
that.
of
Oh,
bugs
nice.
working from the zip.
Yeah.
Nice.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll probably dial up to about that at the end of week 2. But yeah. Okay.
Well,
Everyone's
I
different.
like to sit at that higher amount, I guess, personally, because I like to make sure that that soil temperature is on point, and the fact that the plant hasn't colonized and the microbials haven't fully colonized the pot. Being a cocoa grower, um, keeping that 22 degrees really kind of as best as I can in the soil level. So if the top of the plant, or the about 6 inches above the plant is 27 degrees, I can usually be pretty comfortable with that the
5
soil's not
degree.
evaporating too heavily, and that there's not a huge temperature drop from that in the actual soil itself.
Mm.
Mm.
I'm still learning, I've got to admit, because I've got a new light. I've only had it for about 6 months, so I haven't had a lot of seedlings under it. So yeah, I'm still working how far away, and how hot I can get it where it's not a problem. So I'm doing all right, like, what I found. It's just different, that's all. I've always had lights a little bit closer, and because I've got such a more powerful one, that's not a question. It's got to be up, or else I'm turning it down, and then that seems like I'm, lowering my temp. So yeah, I'm in a new way of thinking, which is good. So it's interesting what you guys all say, because it kind of just adds to this new way of thinking as well. Yeah.
Touching on what Timmy said with the temperature, there's more than just the temperature for the root zone. There's that microbiology. I can only speak to how I grow,
The
but it
oxygenation.
it has all different. It's so much more than that. The way the life in the soil, the individual creatures, the critters, everything behaves. Even things like even pH, to my understanding, can be affected by temperature. There's so much going on just in that small pot that
Yeah.
we simply can't comprehend. And we just turn an aircon on and off and something like that. And meanwhile, there's a whole world in that soil that's just going crazy. And
Yeah.
a lot of our stuff, it does like it not hot, but it doesn't want a cold root zone. That's definitely for sure.
Mm.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And if
So-
you run really cold, don't waste your money with heaps and heaps of inoculants. It'll be very slow to establish anyway. Just start low and slow with that.
Okay. That's good to know. Yeah. I don't try to start cold, but I am working in an ultra cold temperature
Yeah, some people
climate.
don't have a choice, or if you're
Yeah.
outdoors, if you're
Yeah.
outdoors, you don't really have a say.
Yeah, I mean, in winter we're looking at heaters in the tanks and stuff like that. That's where we end up having to be. So, having to flip the information according to the climate is always something we've got to look at too. So that's good.
Some days when I on the very rare occasion in Queensland that I had to kind of deal with soil temperatures that were dropping down too low, is I would like you mentioned, having the heater for the water, I would water multiple times over that day,
Yeah.
essentially to kind of try my best to boost up the ambient water temperature. So I'd water at, say, 25, 26 degrees, so there's enough kind of energy within the water itself to maintain just a gradual heat up.
Yeah.
And the fans and the air circulation will help kind of keep that top layer a bit cooler if it does start out too hot. But it's
Yeah.
able to move through the actual soil and kind of temper it as best as I could. Now, I don't have a ton of experience being in Queensland with it, but that's what I used to do on those really
Yeah.
cold days.
Yeah. 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 I think. Yeah.
There's
No,
lots
that's
of little
good.
tips and tricks.
Heat mats.
Oh, good
Yeah,
time.
down here I like to use a heat mat if I'm running in my colder months here in Vic. We'll use a heat mat, and then I'll run a solo cup upside down on that heat mat, and then sit my seedlings on top of that.
Just be careful with heat mats. I almost lit the tent on fire with them. So just be very careful, guys.
Yeah, don't. Yeah,
Get good ones and don't.
Look at a
water
reptile
them.
quality waterproof ones. Yeah,
Really good one. Yeah, reptile one.
Well,
So-
it was a reptile one. You can't get water
Oh.
on them. Yeah, no, that's probably.
Oh, okay. I'll take that back.
Yeah,
And
They'll
just
get a proper
for
dry
everyone listening,
hydro shock.
exactly.
yeah, I was just going to say, just for everyone listening, on Blazing Trail, we have AC Infinity Suncore heat mats with temperature control. So
Oh, there we
if you're
go.
looking
Get
for
one
a
of those.
good
Oh, wow.
quality heat mat, jump in that.
Yeah, there we go. Get one of those.
Does that have a
Yeah.
probe that goes in the soil? That's impressive.
So the heat mat control is just for the general heat mat. So if you wanted it 35 degrees because you've got a big
Oh,
seedling
wow.
tray,
Yeah, I get you. It goes into their actual controllers. That's
Yeah.
incredible. I didn't know that was even a thing.
Oh, so
Wow.
you can temp control them. Well,
Yeah,
that's
so,
new.
so if
Yeah,
you've
these are
if you've got
actual-
one plant on there and then you're like, oh well, because most reptile heat pads that are sold at hydro shops
So-
even sit at about the 32, 35 degree mark.
Yeah.
Oh, they get a lot hotter if they're not on their own thermostat. You'll
Yeah.
cook things you need to then pay like $200. So yeah, it's good that you can just plug.
Oh,
it
they
in
go
your controller.
too
That's
hot.
big.
Yeah, for plants, to be honest. Yeah. So Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
they were the
often
ones I was
have
just
them,
about to mention, were the temperature adjustable ones. So well done, Timmy.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and a good little plug there. Go see Blazing Trail for them because yeah, they're the
Yeah,
bee's knees. Mate.
yeah, that's bloody
Perfect to
good.
get that 5-degree variance roughly in your root zone if you need it.
Mm.
And you could also, if you get really cold temperatures, and your soil, like myself, there's mulch. There's also you can, if you've got an established plant, a big enough pot. This isn't a bit of a different way to do it. You have to run a bit of a specific way. You can use like a proper compost with a mulch layer over the top, and you can actually raise your temperature of your pot by using like a hot layer, but you need your pot to be super hot, like I run it. Otherwise, that won't work. But there's a lot of ways you can do it biologically as well if you don't want to use electricity or you're out in the bush or anything like that. Mulch is
Yeah,
a big way to do it with a nice
big
compost on
time.
top, something like
Big
that.
time. Even mulching in the bottom of your pot's mud, I've found. I haven't done it with cannabis, but I found outdoors really keeps your pots hot. You can run them at a higher temperature.
Thermal mass as well, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Push things
for sure.
together.
Yeah, yeah.
You
I
got
don't
four
do
big
too
pots,
bad
push it
with
together.
yeah, with the decent lights and everything. I don't have many problems down here, even when it gets down to 5 degrees, because they pump out enough heat. And once you get your system set up properly, it tends to generate enough heat, don't you reckon, Roo?
Well, you run a drip feed system too. So
Yeah,
if you're watering, say, 4 or 5 times a day, you've got that drip running in that
yeah,
in that system, and it's going through that environment. Your water temperature's, generally holding its temperature as well.
yeah,
Having like 100-liter
exactly.
reservoir there.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's perfect.
yeah. And if I struggle at all, I just get a fish tank heater and
You
pop
just
that
turn
in
the
it.
heater up inside your
Yeah,
dripper.
yeah, yeah. So
So week
keeps it
2,
simple.
what nutrients are we using? We've done a little bit of a tea or a light nutrient application in week 1. We've got a little kind of like 7 centimeter diameter kind of circle of roots. It goes down about 5 to 7 centimeters as well. What's our next? What do you guys?
There's quite a few that you can use. It depends on where you want to sort of go with it. And when where your budget lies.
That's a
There's
big one.
there's lots of ready-made products. You can walk straight into a hydro shop and help yourself too.
Yeah, I just use a half strength A and B. When it's in like week 2, I'll start introducing it. If it's in just a plain cocoa.
I just personally, I just do what I did in week 1 with the same things, the kelps, the seaweeds, and things like that. But instead of just doing a minute dose, I just crank it up. I get it really going. Probably week
Yep.
3 is when I really get it full dose, but this is when I'd probably start to get things that are heavier in the nitrogen and less so more for the enzymatic stuff and things of that nature. So to
Yeah.
switch to nutrient, less so much biology, if that makes sense.
Yep. And
Yeah.
and that's being a oil grower too for you. So
And you also don't have to. With how I grow, I don't need to feed this stuff. I could stop and my soil will feed itself,
That's
being
right.
no-till and whatnot. But I do this because I'm experimenting with. I want to see if you can really treat this soil, large no-till pots, like you could a synganic setup and with organic things. If I could just pump that soil full of things without burning it, and you can. And as I said earlier, you can tell when you're burning it early because of the way the nitrogen behaves. So you can really push them a lot more than people think with some of this organic nitrogen.
Yeah. So and yeah,
It's all the
well,
same at the end of the day. Like nitrogen's nitrogen, but yeah.
yeah. I'm definitely starting to up my level of microbes that I'm putting in through my cocoa now. And I'm introducing a quarter strength probably feed of A and B myself as a cocoa grower.
Mm.
At about week 2. And then, can push a little bit further, and I'm starting to watch for. I'm observing my plant and looking for signs of nutrient stress, things like that. Finding out where my balance is and how far I can push things generally, because I like to push things along.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Like observing for what the next steps are and what tomorrow's water is going to be, and am I going to go savage on this thing and dump
Correct.
full dose? Yeah, absolutely.
And how well's it just handled that one? And yeah, exactly. What can I do tomorrow? Can I up it, or do I have to maintain?
Oh, gosh. Sorry, I was just looking in the chat at a plant on a drip of
Was
sugar.
talking about,
That's really
man,
serious growing, man.
exactly. And look,
Serious.
I myself would likely go like a half dose as well at this point.
Oh,
But I'd be like piling in the root supporters. I'd be getting the humix, the fulvix. I'd be getting different mycorrhizae like a trichoderma kind of base system in there. and
Yep.
and I'd be trying my best. If I was going budget, I'd still be kind of upping teas and foliar sprays and all of that, or just using different doses of A and B to kind of get me through. Because at the end of the day, the A and B, has the spectrum we're looking for. All the nutrient brands and hydroponic shops are dialing them in for a specific reason. But if we have the budget, we can get things like Aptus Start Boost that has the protein hydrostylates and the enzymic kind of support mechanisms in the actual bottle itself, and
Yep.
turbocharge the roots even further.
Yeah, there's a Rhizo ones and things like that as well. Different companies make as well, which are very similar.
Thank you for reminding me about the foliars, by the way. This is actually the stage I'd start using my lab. I would actually foliar spray it at this point, instead of the root drench, which is I think how most people use it, just to allegedly, a lot of this KNF sort of thing and that side of things is somewhat allegedly. It's supposed to take up a lot of the space where things like spores and things could. It's supposed to sort of just behave in a way where it just takes up space without doing anything negative, as a foliar. I just do it because because I can, and it's more so as a clean. And I like to do that between after I, a couple of days after I do sort of a foliar feed, as Timmy mentioned.
Yep. Yep. Definitely, mate.
Oh, foliaring is the secret weapon, honestly,
Yeah.
to enormous yields. Is getting as much nutrients and support in there for the plant. Like, I
like
love
to
to
fo-
spray like monocyclic.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. It's such a hard thing in a way to get into plants. I'm really unfortunate. I'm trying to find a way I can get a lot of, silica into my plants organically using foliar, but it's a it's a bit of a gray area in terms of organics, I believe. I think it's allowed in some places as a pest control, as a foliar, but obviously I'm not held to any sort of legal standard, but I hold myself to a personal standard. Um, so I'm sort of looking into ways to do that. Right now, I have to do a top dress with Australian Pelagonite. But yeah, if you just know any sort of things I could use that would give me a nice boost for foliar with that.
Look, there's a lot of like monocyclic kind of brands out there, and just your normal kind of silica add-on at the hydro shop will eventually break down into the bioavailable kind of
Yeah, I
silica for
was
your
about to
plant.
say that. Yeah, sure it would. Yeah.
But look,
Especially in
I
your
myself,
soil, Mud.
look,
Yeah, I just want a foliar way, I just really want to be able to get it into it early.
I reckon Aptus Facilitor, just from my own kind of personal experience, it definitely is a pricey kind of add-on, but I can definitely say that it is absolutely bioavailable monocyclic acid, and you will see results from that. Like, I used to have massive plants that didn't need a trellis because I'd been kind of following or fogging the entire area in this stuff from pretty much week two, just getting it involved in the cellular kind of structure and production of the plant. And I definitely saw huge results from switching over to that. And look, it's the cleanest one that I know of, just from personal experience. No kind of shots at other brands, but I can personally vouch that Aptus Facilitor is definitely the monocyclic to get.
Beautiful,
Interesting.
beautiful. I'd like to touch on a couple of things that one of our guests here has said. One of our
Yes, please do.
viewers has said. Not a bird has just said rice hulls for mulch for silica, and also mentioned sand. So I believe people used green sand at some point early in living soil recipes, and they've sort of phased out of that due to just the time it takes to become bioavailable for it to sort of chelate and sort of get
Yeah, I was
into
under the
system.
impression as well. Yeah, it didn't break down in time.
And also, as for rice hull, so that's a mixed one because how's the rice hull grown? Is it a silica-rich soil? They also, from what I've heard, is they accumulate a lot of negative things. Now, this is all nothing from my personal experience. They do accumulate. I've heard they accumulate a lot of negative things within the plant, and you can be putting that into your soil. There's a lot of negativity that can come from that. And in my opinion, there's sort of other ways you could get the silica other than the rice hulls. But in saying that, I mean, it's cheap, it's easy, it's there. I guess you just got to make sure, like everything's got a clean source.
There is something that you can use that is an organic. Well, not an organic per se, like a rice hull, but still from the earth, and it's diatomaceous earth, and
Oh,
it will shred aphids that try to colonize in the soil layer, and it'll also break down into monocyclic acid over time. It usually starts about kind of month two, but breaking down into some actual readily available silica.
it's
But
even
for
like
living
use.
soil,
Yeah, and if you're running a living soil or a no-till like yourself, Mud, by the time you come around to your second round in that pot, it's all there. It's love and life. So
Yeah, I mean, As I said, I use that the Australian, it's specifically called for some reason the Australian pelagonite, and it's like 20-30% silica. It's well, it wouldn't be, it's very high content, and the way I try and get it in
rich. Yep.
fast is it's good with everything else, and it's good at getting the soil and the microbial life, and obviously technically not organic because it's a mineral, but I use a thing called onyx prills. I don't really know why they're called that, but they're molasses in like a beaded form, and I put it on a layer over the top, and that's when I'll do like a compost tea into it over the top of it, and that'll get that going quick. But yeah, I was just wondering if there's sort of anyone knows some really good, cheeky, sort of sneaky, organic ways to get, silica straight into a plant that needs it, or early on. I don't necessarily need it, but I have needed it in the past and was wondering if there was a way to do it. And I could not find a very good source to get it straight onto the plant like that.
definitely
never
facilitator.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you.
Excellent.
So I've needed silica early due to the behavior. So this is in response to another thing that Knotted Bird said. So I needed silica early because my previous run lacked the silica, and by the end of it, they were still rather stretchy. So they weren't taking the weight of their own buds, their own flowers. So I knew early that I needed to get that silica in, and being organic, I didn't know if I would have it top loaded, if I'd have it hot enough and into where I need it to be in time for them to see the effect.
Right.
Yeah, look, any type of benefit that your plant can have for its general health and structure, like at any stage, is definitely a supporting mechanism of the overall outcome that you're going to have. So, if you're dialing in your flowering stages and you're like, well, how can I get more? Well, it's dialing in every other stage from seedling to early veg, getting
Very
that
well.
bang on.
Yeah, that's what I was coming back to earlier. It's like this, these early expressions dictate what your plant's going to look like later on. So
Mhm.
Look, wind therapy, as not a bird has just said in the chat as well, is definitely something that does help plants, but doing too much, which is very easy for even an experienced grower, trying to make use of that in early stages is something that can and will bring issues as well with the plant's kind of shock reaction to different things.
Mm.
yeah, can play havoc with VPD, like you said, and hurt transportation. God,
Transpiration. God, you got me fumbling
yes,
now.
I can't. Yeah, I'm not pushing very well. Transpiration. There we go. Got it.
Mm. Yeah, moisture. Yeah, moist.
Yeah, and that's where like your fan therapy, I guess, would be the best use case is organizing yourself with vapor pressure and how the relative humidity is going to impact that potentially young plant. But it's something that I guess most newer growers and people just starting out, there's a lot of other kind of things to check off. But
Well,
before
they're
we
not
get to that,
generally looking at VPD, are they? New
no.
growers.
I'm
They wouldn't be
as a new grower, I was always looking at root strength though, so I don't know if I call it wind therapy, but your wind and your fan was not just about moving the air around, it was also about blowing on the plants and creating that strength in their root system.
Oh, absolutely. Like
Yeah.
it definitely contributes to it, but I guess in a hydroponic tent environment, you'd be more looking at what energy is it using to strengthen itself that much when I could be
Yeah.
focusing on what interactions inside the cellular structure I can work on to get the best outcome for the actual plant health. And
Yeah.
trellising and support can kind of replace things like harder stems, and even getting that the actual pressure inside of the plant's cellular structure with VPD manipulation,
Yeah.
and a good kind of built out cell wall
Yeah.
is definitely going to hold the plant up at a more reliable rate than that. That's just my thoughts and observations, though, just from what I've seen. Is I definitely work kind of all through these things as
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there, Timmy.
Uh,
It's definitely.
I'd also like to add a lot of the things to people that I do early and things may seem very redundant, but it needs to be understood that I need to prep early for
yeah.
some of the for what the way I grow. So if I'm sort of having an issue from something from the end of the last run, as I mentioned, the silica, I need to have it on the soil and the layer getting hot and ready so that it's going to be doing what I need in 4 weeks, in 6 weeks, in 8
Yeah,
weeks.
well,
And
if you
some of
want to
these
think
things
of it
do
as a
take a long time.
gamer, you've got like latency issues when it comes to soil.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
you have to predict it. It's really something you have to learn to. Yeah, it's alive. It's like riding a horse versus driving a car.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's got a mind of its own. Exactly. You got to steer it in the right direction, mate.
And it's a holistic approach too, Mud, the way you describe your growing. You're thinking about the end just as much as the beginning.
Think about the soil. I don't care about the
Yeah.
plant at the end of the day, as terrible as that sounds. I care about the
No.
quality, but if my
Yeah.
plant's no good, it's because my soil's no good. I can't just
Yeah.
go pour something on that. And I care about my soil, as crazy as that sounds. I care deeply to the point where, I'll be having to move soon, and I have the choice of leave my plants elsewhere or take my soil and cut the plants, and I'll
Yeah.
be taking my soil.
Well, your
Yeah.
soil's your lifeblood, whereas, as
Yeah,
cocoa growers
yes.
like myself
It's an
and Timmy,
investment, huh?
we can just go and get cocoa anywhere, and as long as
Yeah.
we're doing our inputs and doing things the way we do things, then we're okay. We can pick up
But
where you can't.
unfortunately, that does come with the little asterisks that use also if things were to go wrong or something was to happen, use mid grow or something, you don't have the money, or you're in the middle of nowhere and can't get the goods. You are reliant on a shop to feed your goods, and I am too. I'm being hypocritical here, but the way I grow does. But my way can be altered and whatnot.
Look, at the
As a
end of the
cocoa
day, you
grower,
could
yeah,
just be left to water feed, and you'd still end up with a decent product at the end of the day.
yeah,
We
yeah. I
started
guess what I
from
mean,
week
yeah,
two, just feeding water, we'd be screwed. So
yeah, exactly, yeah.
yeah,
That's completely how I tried to design my outdoor grow mud. Was I poured so much into the soil prep, like months, and the amount of products and everything, so that I could hopefully have an easy grow. It wasn't that I wanted to be lazy. I literally wanted to see how well the plants could just do themselves. The a la natural. I've had to do some bugs and stuff like that, but I wanted to see if I could do it so well that it was minimal, having to attend to the soil while they were growing. And I'm been done pretty well for my first really good go. I've noticed that I wasn't really happy with it and wanted to like add some feed, so I have done that like twice. But it's all under the mulch layer, and it's been exciting to be able to do it that way. So I get you. I get you about the soil, dude.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
beautiful.
thank you. Yeah, as I said, I look at my soil like you'd look at a fish tank. If there's something wrong with
Mm.
a fish, there's something wrong with the fish tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you can grow 8-foot high plants, you're doing something right.
Yeah,
Hmm. Allegedly.
allegedly. Everything here is AI, and
Yeah,
the
amen.
points don't matter.
Yeah.
We're all robots, mate.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
2
Look,
years.
I think that pretty much covers us though.
Yeah.
For our seedling through to week 2, I think we've touched on everything through to week 2. Next week we're going to definitely come back and we're going to dive in a bit further, and we'll head on from the end of the start of week 3 down through to week 4 and the end of our first month. So that's going to be
Wow.
another interesting one.
flower prep.
Yeah, exactly,
Oh, I
Timmy.
love this. This is my favorite time, flower preps. Yeah, when you're in organics, this is when you can have some fun because you can put all sorts in.
Yep,
I'm excited.
definitely. I'm going to do a bit of a shout out to anyone who uses Instagram. I challenge you to put up your week 2 photos and tag us in it at hashtag Terpene Table Week 2. We'd love to see them and love to share them. So
Nice.
I'd love to see some more organic growers, guys. Please, you organic growers, come show me up, please.
Show
I-
out.
I need a measure. I need a better growers to look at and be like, damn, look at what they achieve.
Yeah.
So I can measure myself to that. Come on, guys. I know the user out there in Australia.
Can I share a thought that I
Please do.
shared with someone just this past week? I was having a chat with someone in the WRC community. We were just like throwing photos around of grows and stuff like that. And in relation to growing, he said, that's why I'm here. He said, we share the same passion. I got into it from being sick, and it was therapy, and now it's medicine. And I just thought
It's
that is
beautifully
so
said
well
too.
said.
Yeah.
That just, dropped the mic. I thought, well said, dude. I get that. I think so many of us do get that. And I think it's great, that we can get together and share all this. Feel better for it.
At the end of the day, that's the reason I grow cannabis, is it's medicine for myself, and it helps me
Amen.
function in my day-to-day life. I don't think I could continue doing what I do and functioning the way I do without it. So
Amen.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of people have to understand not all of us are talented humans. Some of us have very specific skills, and this happens to be our very specific skill. And this is the only way some of us can eat. So,
Yeah.
people should respect that part of things too. It is a skill like anything else. It's just farming. We have seasons, we have everything like that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Well said, my friend. Well said.
Yeah. Good chat,
All right.
guys.
Yeah,
Oh,
lovely chat. And it's always
Yeah.
good to have all your legends at the table. It's good to have some people in the live chat here and having discussions and throwing questions to us.
And popping some
Yeah,
brilliant
it's
photos.
enjoyable. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, the
Sorry,
more of you that are listening and the more that can get involved, come over and see us in the WRC Discord. You'll find the links where you're listening and come in and get involved in the live chats.
Yeah.
And we
You'll
love to
find us
talk. Yeah, we love to talk to you. We're not going to just snub you. If you come in and chat. We'll get off subject, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love to
No,
digress around here.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the best way to have some really good meaty discussions about stuff.
And with that being said, I'd like to thank you all for attending the Terpene Table, and we'll see you again next week.
Thanks, guys. Bless yous.
Have a good night, guys. God bless.
Bye, guys.
Terpene Table is brought to you by Growers Pal. Aussie legends when it comes to keeping your clones safe in transit. If you've ever tried to post a cutting wrapped in wet paper towel and cling wrap, you'll know it's a gamble at best. Growers Pal clone shippers take the guesswork out of it. Purpose built with segmented compartments to keep your genetics snug, and even a little LED light to keep them happy on the road. Whether they're headed up the coast or across the country, you can trust your prize cuts will land fresh, not fried. They're mates of the Roo and they're mates of the Discord, so their growers looking out for you, not just trying to sell you something. Head over to growerspal.com.au. That's www.growerspal.com.au and sort yourself out with a proper kit for moving your genetics across the country, because good clones deserve a fair dinkum safe ride.
At Blazing Trail, we're on a joyful adventure celebrating life, love, and nature's beauty. We cultivate vibrant outdoor connections, foster community collaborations, and source wholesome treasures like our Sprout seed starter for precise, energy-efficient germination, and FlexiGerm silicone seed pods for sustainable, airflow-enhanced sprouting. All with the care for our world. Join us in blazing a sustainable trail filled with laughter and magic. Visit blazingtrail.com.au.
While we're on the subject of good gear, I'm going to give a cheeky shout out to my own spot, the Wild Vault. It's packed with glass, gadgets, and grow gear. All the little treasures that make your sesh just that bit sweeter. So, if you're looking for something fresh to add to your kit, swing by thewildvault.xyz and have a sticky beak. It's basically a toy box for grown-up stoners. And hey, if it's genetics you're chasing, head over to our mates at wildrootcultivars.com and check out what they've got cooking. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time at the Terpene Table.